In this video, we're going to do a quick review what comes in your box with your 400 e-collar from e-collar Technologies. As a reminder, this collar the 400 series goes 3/4 of a mile depending on the area. If you're in a mountainous area and your dog's getting over a mountain, you'll have to hold this above your head so the antenna makes communication. But let's review. We've got our cord that plugs in to the back of our units to charge them every evening. So we open the back, we plug it in, and we open the back of this one, this little flap right here, and plug it in. They will light up a red light when you plug it into the wall. Just take that, put it in the wall. They'll light up and let them charge overnight. Take that back out right now. Once you take it out, make sure your flaps are tight and down. Tight and down. Now, for purposes, we're going to pretend this is on a dog. Well, actually, before we put it on the dog, we want to turn it on. But reminder how we turn these on. There is a little red dot on your remote. It goes to the receiver. You cross them. That turned green. There was a green light that blinked. I'm going to show you again because this is how you turn it off. Red dot to red dot. There was a red light that turned it off. Double check. Make sure you have this on. Red dot to red dot. A green light. It will keep flashing green, but it takes a while. So sometimes if I want to know that the collar's on, then I go to my remote and I turn it on. Reminder, press and hold, and it turns on. Press and hold, it turns off. Press and hold, it turns on. Okay, you saw the little light. Okay, now you have a green light flashing. Reminder, if this starts turning yellow or orange, the battery's drained. Yellow or orange, the battery's getting drained. So before I put it on a dog, a lot of times I just want to double check. I'll hit the tone button, which is the vibrate. And I can see the red light. I'm ready to put that on my dog. So we're going to pretend that's on the dog. So when this is on the dog, we want to decide how we're going to communicate with this dog, whether we're going to hit vibrate right before, as we give the command, or we're going to have it on a sound. Now, we can change that on and off between units. And again, that's in a different video to tell you how to turn on from vibrate to just a tone of a beep noise. I want to talk about your S's, the stimulus button. I want to talk about how you set your working number, your motivational number, or your emergency number. Don't get hung up on these numbers. But if you find yourself constantly over at 10 or higher, you probably need to take some steps back. Work your dog again. Most dogs work under the number 10. Most humans cannot feel, I will put the collars on you, most humans cannot feel it until it gets to 15 or into the 20s. Again, this manufacturer designed it off of the 10s unit, so it's a stimulus. This, when I want to set the working number and I'm taking a dog out in a familiar area and maybe I want to lock it in. I never use this button, but you can push this down and it will lock that number. So now if I go to turn it, so if yours ever gets locked by accident, but sometimes if it's in your pocket and you just want to lock in your number and you don't want to stim your dog or do something at a different level, you can lock it. In order to unlock it, we're going to press and hold it again and it'll go back to 0. So if we want to lock it in, let's say at 10, press and hold, it's going to lock it in and now it's locked. To undo it, push it down, press and hold, unlocks back to 0. On the screen, you're going to see M, but you change that between M or C. Now what does that mean? On the back here, there's a little button I talked about, MC. M stands for momentary. It means it's just a little tap, tap, okay? And you have to keep hitting the button to get that tap, tap. C stands for continuous. This unit is designed to never do more than 10 seconds continuous. So when I want to change this thing to continuous only, I just press that little button. Now it's MC, momentary and continuous. Now it's momentary, now it's continuous. I like to start everybody on continuous, and here's what that means. On the vibrate, if I hit vibrate, it's not any number. Okay, it's vibrating. I like it on a wood counter so you can hear that, okay? So let's say the working number though is 5, and I hit the stimulus black button at 5. For 10 seconds, the dog is getting communication for 10 seconds at level 5 stimulus. If the dog is ignoring me, the red button, when it's set on continuous, the red button is a boost, and the manufacturer has it just boosted at 5 more. See how it went to 10? So if I'm communicating with my dog and I say, Fido, here, and I press and hold, it's going to be only for 10 seconds. Notice the red light's also lighting up on the collar. I'm communicating with that dog. The dog doesn't listen and I want to use a boost. I'm going to hit the boost and it goes to 10 for 10 seconds. And notice that the light, they both light up so you know you're communicating. But your dog's at a distance, you're not going to see that. I can reset to have a boost higher. I personally, my personal dogs, I like to have it higher because I just don't have to roll these numbers. But let's say we're out there working our dog, and our dog's working level is a 5. And suddenly your dog's not listening because a deer, a squirrel, a rabbit, high prey drive, if your dog has high prey drive, they might not listen to you. That's the beauty of these collars that can communicate. I will take this in my hand, learn to do this one-handed, and I will roll that number. I will hit my S button for 10 seconds at whatever it rolls to so that my dog will be saved and not running out in front of a car or go on a high-speed chase and could get hurt by a old barbed wire fence, by anything. So I would rather turn up my stimulus for that few seconds than my dog possibly getting hurt. Don't get hung up on these numbers, but I'm going to repeat. If you find your dog's not listening to you and you're working in this range of over 10, most likely you need to back up. The collar is used not to sit there and work your dog and correct your dog. The collar is used to layer your voice command. So your voice, when you say Fido here and the dog doesn't listen, I like to hit vibrate. When I say Fido here, I'll go into vibrate, and then I go immediately, I'll have my number set, I'll go immediately to my black S button and start communicating with the dog because he doesn't listen to the command. The dog has to be educated on the commands before we use an e-collar. We train them to learn the words. The e-collar is about communicating. If you stop what you're doing and come to me, that sensation will stop. So if a dog knows a downstay and they pop out of the downstay, we can layer, after a dog is really nicely trained, we can layer that with the e-collar. It talks to them without being one of those people that just sits there and goes, come, 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 sit, sit, sit. The e-collar takes away all that emotion, all that voice stuff. It is a fabulous tool when used properly. I want to talk about the collar on the dog. These are the contact points. Generally, they work with most dogs unless they have really thick hair. We might have to change out and use longer contact points to communicate with them. These collars do not burn a dog or anything like that. If you have skin irritation, you've probably left the collar on too long after the dog gets wet. It's highly recommended after the dog goes swimming or gets wet in morning dew or anything, take the collar off, dry it, and dry your dog. Otherwise, you've got wet, and this has a battery in it. We all know batteries have, warmth to it when they're turned on. Also, if the collar's on the dog too loose, these contact points must make communication to complete the circuit. If they're like this, it can irritate the skin. Sorry. it can irritate the skin. Okay, so this goes flat and communicates with the dog, but we need to have a contact. So at first, if you have to call me and say, I think I have the collar on too tight, that means you probably have it on perfect. But if it's too loose and you're doing this, or it's hanging like this, it will not communicate with the dog. And I don't think I mentioned also, so we've got them on the back to turn the light on. I can't remember if we reviewed this earlier in the video, so I'm going to repeat it. If I press the L button once, I get a flashing. If I press it again, I get solid. Press it again, it turns it off. So in order to get your flashlight after you've turned the collar and your remote on, now you can turn on the flashlight, okay? So press it once, the L, flashing, press it again, solid, press it again, turns it off. I want to tell you also, when a dog gets put up or is in their crate, if you crate your dog, or if it's home alone, this collar should not be left on. No training collar should be left on a dog. No collar should be on a dog unless it's a breakaway collar. If you are away from the animal, we don't want them to choke or get caught on anything. So if you do use a flat collar for their tags, they should have just a clamp that can break away if the dog got trapped somewhere and it could undo. But when they go in their crates, they should not have these on. Also, they don't recommend, I think it's no more than 6 hours if you're outside doing hunting or something at night with your dog. That flashlight gets warm, and that can be warm on the dog's neck. So that's another thing you want to remember, to take it off, because otherwise it's like a flashlight right on your neck and it would be too warm. That's a little brief information on how the collar works. Again, we can talk more about when and why you would use, whether momentary or continuous, but I want to focus that that's important. If you wonder sometimes also if your dog's not listening to you, I go to a lot of homes and I notice that this is on just M, and that's probably one reason. You're holding the button down, but it's just going, and that's not enough. It's like the dog feeling maybe a fly land on it for a second and then it's gone. All right, that's a little bit about the 400.